It is so much easier to work hard in a really, really, really nice apartment, on really, really nice office than in a shithole. And when you drop out from Stanford and then create Snapchat, you could have afford yourself this dropping out. People can actually afford it because they're like, I have a $200,000 loan on my shoulders. If I drop out, like, what the hell am I gonna do? There are people who bankrupt at least one, maybe already two companies throughout the past 2.5 years and started new ones.
What's the probability of people being tokenized and traded?
I think it's inevitable. People in Russia is just like, okay, you get 5%, we get 95%, go work because we gave you money. I can get so much better deal than what I can get in the Silicon Valley. They were trying to be innovative in forms of how to be fair to the founders and at the same time how to screw them. One experiment, we are completely sure that statistically it's gonna work out. All money in the world eventually gonna be invested in people's future. YC is really good at selecting people, not companies.
Investors can be quite greedy, egoistic. We experienced this idea in 2006 when some of our investors decided to screw us. Investors, they do have these financial rights to participate in financial outcome, but they don't have right of control. Even if you had this type of exit, your probability of the very next company to be a unicorn, a billion-dollar company, is 6.5 times higher. That if you grow 60% year over year, you are success.
You're success.
If you're growing 2.4 times
you are superhuman.
You're superhuman.
Hey guys, welcome to Silicon Valley Girl. I have amazing guests today. They are some of my closest friends. They are Liberman brothers. Comment down below if you've ever heard of them, because whenever I meet amazing people in this world, they're like, oh yeah, I know those brothers. So you've done quite a job marketing yourself and marketing your accomplishments, and you have a lot of those, and I'm going to read them out loud for everyone who's watching and who's seeing you for the first time. So you started being entrepreneurs right after school, by starting your internet provider in Russia. Then you started over 12 companies, one of which was sold to Snapchat for $60 million back in 2016. One of your episodes in your life includes losing millions of dollars due to nationalizations in banks in Cyprus. That's crazy. Oh my God. Like after that, my life would be like, okay, I'm done with entrepreneurship. I'm going to Bali. I'm going to meditate. The fact that you're here, guys, and we're going to talk about that as well. And then you started investing in people, and I am their first investment as a creator, because you invested in entrepreneurs as well, right? Yes. Awesome. So we're going to talk about that. Tell me when you started investing. When was your first investment?
So if we're talking about investment in general, not just an investment in individuals' financial future, then I guess the first investment we ever did was 2008.
What was it?
What was it? A good question also.
There were several projects almost at the same time.
We were basically incubating them. So
there was one in the field of medical records, digitalization of medical records. One was around social media.
It wasn't just even social media. It was new media. It's a Substack-ish plus Medium plus something else, but it was like an entire idea of how to make new type of publishing plus UGC.
We invested in Leprosorium, which
we don't
know what it is.
It's Reddit of Russia.
Okay, Reddit of Russia.
It's Reddit of Russia. They actually started
1 year earlier than Reddit.
With similar mechanics when you like have a complicated voting system, and if some posts have more votes,
subreddits, sub Leprosoriums, like all this was there.
Does it still exist? Does it still exist?
It still exists.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it used to be the major. Probably it is still, but I mean, the time has passed. It used to be the major community of a Russian internet.
And meme generator.
So were any of those investments successful? Were you able to exit multiples?
Yeah, we exited actually from, for example, from our investment in Cope with a good return. It was a video, like short video.
And the guys who started Coop, they actually became your individual investments later, right?
Yes. We actually first invested in several companies of the same founders.
So basically we were following the same trajectory of if if we feel the founder is an incredible entrepreneur and human being, just invest in every startup of the individual, and it's almost like investing in the individual himself. And then it's just like when he already started his new company back in 2021, was it 2020? We were like, okay, just next one is not going to be the company, but you yourself.
How hard was it to structure this? Because for me, I feel like it's very clear that you invested in a creator. We're going to have all of the activities associated with my creator career. What about entrepreneurship? Like, what if today he starts a company with somebody who had $1 billion exit? It's not really...
It's so funny that you feel that the
mine is fair.
I mean, like the founder deal is more complicated than the creator deal.
Yeah.
Like, to our opinion, it's vice versa. Like it's the creator deal is much more complicated because with founder basically create companies.
Yeah, just I wonder how entrepreneurs think about it, right? Because if you start on your own, like I'm on my own, it's not like I'm joining someone and they affect my performance. It's just me. Right? I can hire people, I can fire people. When it's an entrepreneur, when they start a company with someone who's like $1 billion founder, it's not just him. Have they had any problems starting companies with other people when they disclose that they have this?
So far, no.
So far, no. And people actually, there are people who bankrupt at least one, maybe already 2 companies throughout the past 2.5 years and started new ones. And it's
no limitations.
Okay.
So even though you're right that originally it was one of the concerns that it will prevent those founders to raise next funds, or it would be harder to raise money in the future startups. We don't see any correlations. For investors, it's quite clear deal. It's not some shady deal. No one understands how it works. It's
pretty straightforward.
An investment
Honestly,
in C Corp
that owns
Exactly.
consequent companies.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
There is a concept of SPV. So basically, it's sort of like an SPV. You invest in SPV, but this SPV is like timeless SPV of multitude of companies. Like people invest in this SPV, and this SPV then invest in companies of the entrepreneur.
But also this idea was already supported by one of the brightest thinkers of Silicon Valley. Sam Altman invested, Marc Andreessen invested. So
they invested in
So Marc Andreessen, for example, invested in us. Sam Altman invested in humanism
and
as
US
a fund.
entrepreneurs.
Yes.
In us as Libermans.
So in Marc and Chris, they made it together.
And Sam invested in humanism. Humanism is a company that owns shares of entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, this model is already supported by people who has a reputation in the market. So this also create the credibility that still this deal is clear. And this deal
there are still tons of questions. How is it going to be liquidated? How is it going to be liquid? How is it going to work in the future? Because we are right now, 2.5 years into this adventure.
Entrepreneurs also 30-year deals?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like some, we offer 15 years deal or 30 years deal, but because of the different horizons, the valuation also is much smaller. So for most entrepreneurs, it's like, 30 years is too long. I'll try 15, and then they put the data in the formula and they understand that the 15 is not worth it. So
what's the average that you invest in entrepreneurs?
You mean valuation?
No, like how much money they get, and
it's like everything from $500,000 to $2 million
per person.
And for 5%, right?
It depends on the valuation. So we created the formula, which Daniel mentioned, when we put all the previous achievements of the founders, and based on these achievements and based on the data of the last 30 years
of different
entrepreneurs, we managed to kind of build a prediction model.
Interesting. Do you have like probabilities for every scenario? Like they're going to build $1 billion, they're going to...
Sort of.
So
what is the chance if they for them to build $1 billion?
So how many scenarios do you have? $1 billion company, failure?
Or exit, different type of exits if you had before.
So you have many scenarios.
Yes. So it's actually input into a model, and then model give you a number. It is better to have a control. Actually, with companies, it's the same. It's better to have a control. The fact that we don't have such systems is just the reality that previously we didn't have smart contracts. We cannot use code to actually encode the rules of transactions.
Hopefully in the future.
Now we can.
We can, but it's not widely used.
Yes, but it will be there.
Before we proceed, I would like to pause here and thank the sponsor of this video, Munbin Label Printer. As you know, I've recently started organizing and decluttering my home, and I'm using this lovely pink printer to create my perfect storage system. With this printer, you can print great labels in seconds to keep your home organized. You connect your printer to your smartphone with Wi-Fi or computer, and you don't need to install any drivers. It's super simple. Munbin can print not only stickers for your household, but also short-term schedules or cute thank you cards. You can also brand labels for your products, ingredient labels, or shipping labels, which is very handy if you sell things on Etsy or eBay. Just like I do with all my old equipment or clothes that I no longer wear. In the Munbin app, you will find more than 1,000 printing templates suitable for various sizes and needs. You can order the Munbin wireless printer and additional labels for it on Amazon or in the official Munbin store. I'll leave the links in the description under this video, and just take a look at how organized everything is in my kitchen now. Thank you, Munbin, for sponsoring this, and let's get back to our conversation. What do you think was the probability of people being publicly tokenized and traded?
I mean, I think it's inevitable.
The question is when.
When?
When? Like, okay, when?
If the question is like this year or the next
No,
two.
really?
So we
like look at the current during the current bull.
It's just you investing in people right now. It's not like Marc Andreessen is buying people.
Everyone is talking about investing in
no one is investing. I feel like it has to, like the Silicon Valley has to start a movement,
there are no tools. I would say there's no particular tool.
But there are agreements created by you.
Agreements created by us is first a necessary step for this tool. Now, the tokens themselves, the smart contract, the network on which to place is the ability to basically trade it somewhere and make it clear.
That is not there yet.
It's not there yet.
So you're right that Daniel is probably too optimistic.
Always.
But we are quite sure that first examples would be out there in this decade. It's kind of a normal VC fund horizon. Every VC fund has like 10 years, like 7 years horizon. So we believe that within this time frame, we'll see first individuals who will have their future shares tradable. But it will take another decade before it will become like widely adopted. So I would say that this is a kind of median scenario. There are scenarios where it will be faster. No one can predict, but if we are talking about median scenario in terms of time frame, I think like
it's like a decade.
Where is the bottleneck right now?
Money.
Well, but bottleneck is
not entrepreneurs and creators.
We have like a queue of
seriously
hundreds.
Yes,
hundreds. Some of them are incredible, very successful, already built billion-dollar companies. This caliber of people already willing to try this. There are no money for them.
So it just I would say that this idea resonates to everything founders believe in. But with the investment market, most investors are quite conservative.
Most investors just like,
especially,
how do I liquidate from this? Like with startups, there is a 20, 30, 40 years of history of how you liquidate from startups. With these assets, we just don't know.
But they could sell shares of the Why can't they just internal?
Because it's new, like
Yeah,
no
because-
one's seen
yeah,
it.
okay,
So it
who do they
takes some
sell
time.
to?
That's
Yeah.
that's why like
don't
most
want-
of the bakers in our case, they are visionaries themselves. They actually created companies also by themselves. So they understand the process and they also see this to be inevitable. But it will take some time to educate market because real money is actually not individual investors. It's when institutional investors
Yeah.
will make their bets.
So how much have you invested so far?
So we invested so far around $10 million.
In 15 entrepreneurs and one creator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And one creator. Two.
But we recently raised more money for
the
the
next
fund, for the next cohort.
How much?
So
Can you share?
we recently raised additional $10 million to the fund. So it progresses.
So the goal is to do that every year, or like
So the goal is
Our goal was to actually raise 50 last year. But last year
it was
like,
hard. So the bottleneck are investors who are
Yes.
not willing to invest in this model right
who are
now.
not willing to try this model right away. Who are not willing to be the first ones.
I would say-
they're all excited. They're like, this awesome, interesting, great. Show me the model. Show me this and this. It's too early.
You need to
It's
figure
usually-
out the selling part. Like remember the school Lambda school when they sold debt to
It's a not well example right now with all the media.
They just they were just crushed by regulators.
Oops.
Shut down the company.
Okay, no, but because I thought it was such a genius idea.
Genius
when
idea.
you sell this debt, when you don't accumulate it, but instead you just trade it for money. So if you figure out that part,
Yeah, so definitely. So still, it is both structuring the product so that it will be closer to what they get used to, as well as education of the market. But that's true for any startup with any new ideas that you have early adopters. We do have early adopters,
Yeah.
and then you educate markets to learn more about the product.
Our latest investor, yes, he's an entrepreneur, an experienced one, but a more conservative than all of our previous investors.
Which is also a good
Which is
signal.
also a good sign for us that smart people who usually wouldn't have invested in this are like, okay, I got it, so let's try.
yeah.
Because we also bring a lot of empirical evidences, data that this is actually a better investment to make. We also
They
show
also see that we're persistent and we keep doing this and keep
That's-
doing
and I
this
feel
and
like
keep doing
this is
and
the-
keep doing this. People are like, oh, looks like you're so successful. We're like, nothing have changed since the last 2 years.
Yeah.
We just keep doing what we were doing and trying to be vocal and trying to be visible about this idea. And it's not the only thing which we do. We actually run other companies on like
And you, so this idea came to you back in what, 2008 when you first started investing?
I think that first time we
2006
experienced this
probably.
idea in 2006 when some of our investors decided to screw us and put in the agreement the clause which describes that everything which we will do in the future, they also own a share.
Oh, so he created that idea.
And we like,
and we're like, wait, this is
instead of just complaining and yelling at them, we decided, okay, let's calculate how much it will cost. So we created the proposal, and the proposal was like several times higher valuation than the valuation of the startup. And he was like, why?
Interesting.
It's like,
Was that
It's
general
outrageous.
practice for him to just insert that
we
line?
don't know, but
I mean, look, it's Russia. There were people in Russia is just like, okay, you get 5%, we get 95%, go work because we gave you money.
Yeah.
This was the general practice at the time. So even for the American investors to come and say like, oh, I can like get so much better deal than what I can get in the Silicon Valley, it was sort of they were trying to be innovative in forms of how to be fair to the founders and at the same time how to screw them.
I also believe that it was just our experience that as soon as we would meet with the investor, quite soon they will get this idea that the value not in a company but the
But in a
value in
person.
them. And then they would try to
Yes, because we think
that's some creative ways to.
And that's how many
Yeah.
more things we have in our mind about what to do, what else to do. So
But I love that you had this idea 2006. It's been 18 years and you're pursuing this idea. And I feel like this is what's going to make it successful.
Yes.
Your belief and your daily actions towards that idea. Okay. Can you describe a typical founder, like the ideal founder? If people are watching, they're like, oh, I want to raise money.
Honestly, there's no typical founder currently. Moreover, vice versa. We try to diversify the package as much
But you
as
need
possible.
at least some track record of failures or successes.
Diversify successes, failures, great successes, great failures.
Or just beginners?
Nothing have done before. Like we took them all. We want to see. We want to experiment. We are completely sure that statistically it's going to work out.
So we currently prefer, just because the model is constructed like that, so that we can input some signals in the model. And the signals can be different, but it's at least you raise money. We currently focused only on the founders who act in the United States, who build companies in the United States, because it's legal
important.
framework.
Lots of you are sending us emails, messages, DMs, and stuff like this.
And you're not based in US.
And you're not based in US. Like, we apologize. We cannot reply to all of you because, like, literally there are thousands emails and thousands DMs, and most of you are sending us messages from Russia, Europe, somewhere else. It's out of our scope right now.
Just because legal framework which we developed,
it's
developed based on
U.S. law, and it took
Yep.
it took us 6 months to structure my deal
Yes.
of back and forth with like the most expensive law firm in LA.
So we will first scale it to billions of dollars on this
In the
market,
United
and
States
then we'll develop
before
the
moving
model.
on. So basically, like,
for that
it will
market.
take us years before we will be able to focus on other markets, before we actually be standing on strong basis here in the United
Our
States.
sweetest spot right now is founders who already had some exit.
Yeah.
Because what we found in data is that even if you had this type of exit, your probability of the very next company to be a unicorn, $1 billion company, is 6.5 times higher than on average.
Is that Ilya's Serve Lives research, or is it something you did?
We did.
We did ourselves.
We did ourselves. So this was is one of the strongest signal. We did first this research based on YC founder, Y Combinator founders, and we found out that those founders, they actually created through the 10-year period, they created more unicorns after failing their YC companies than they created unicorns within YC.
Not they, with the other created. So the same group of people, some failed inside of YC cohort, but after this failure, outside of YC, they started other companies. And outside of YC, the same people from the same group created more unicorns than their peers of the cohorts inside of the YC.
And then we looked at those unicorn founders and found out that 90% of them actually had some sort of an exit in previous careers.
So basically, YC is really good at selecting people, not companies.
So we actually give a lot
Have you
of-
talked to them? Have you talked to Gary about that?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Now they will.
But we talked with Sam, and Sam used to be president of YC. And actually, what we found out that both Sam Lessing had similar idea quite early in his career, and Sam Altman as well. He had
Both
similar
thought
ideas.
a lot about like how to finance, how to capitalize young people earlier to give them opportunity to build out.
And Josh Kushner also, who supported us, also in his college years, he had similar
So there are
ideas.
people who had similar ideas. So
Yes,
now you're coming
so
together.
so you see, like, yes, so we actually believe that whatever we build right now, we were not building from scratch. We built on
the shoulders
of people who tried it, but it wasn't right at the moment. The industry wasn't as mature as it is right now. I think a lot of things actually happen through the last 20 years. One of the really important observations which allowed our model. Previously, it was a belief that investors should have a control. Otherwise,
Not just should have a control. Investors should replace the founder at some point with an experienced CEO.
Otherwise, you will lose your investment. So, because investors, they care about the shareholder value, etc. It appears that actually investors, single investors, they actually can be quite greedy, egoistic,
and care about their
individuals
own interests.
and destroy the value
and
of
destroy the
everyone.
value of everyone else except their own.
I like how this model could be applied to creators, because that was, a lot of people's concern. Like even my concern with talking about investing in creators, what if creator steps down? Like in terms of companies, somebody else could step up and run the company. For creator, it's just the creator. But this notion explains how, for companies, pretty much the same.
But that also enabled this type of agreement, because in our agreement, and this is crucial for us, we are not ready to push this project, push this idea forward without this notion that investors, they do have these financial rights to participate in financial outcome, but they don't have right of control. A person has the control.
Yeah.
This is really
that
important.
That was crucial for me as well, because if my investors would tell Marina, you should film more of this, I go and launch
you would never
the
do
course.
so. Yes, in our case, no, there is no control, because we do believe that you have 95% of the future value. You actually will lose much more if you will make a wrong
it's about
move.
your success.
Our interests are aligned, and you are much better in making these decisions than any single investor. And because of that, we have the same contract. But this contract would be never accepted if we wouldn't have this story of 20 years of startups and the average data that those who are controlled by founders actually on average, yes, dispersion is higher. There are more downsides, but there are a lot of really huge upsides from this control. And on average, founders-driven companies perform better than non-founder-driven companies. And that statistic allowed us to prove to investors that it's okay to have such clause in the agreement that we don't have any control. Founder or creator, they have complete control on the decision. So you see, we build in this on shoulders of the previous achievements and the data which was proven by the market for us to actually even be able to prove to investors of our fund that the agreement which we signed
timing.
is okay.
And the question is whether we are in the right time or too early again.
You have so many projects. So how many companies do you have now?
3, and 1 is a laboratory experiment, science laboratory experiment.
Okay, in the ideal world, in 5 years, where are you? What are you doing?
Ideal world. Ideal, which is not out of statistics, or so you see,
in your understanding.
At least a couple of these companies are very, very successful.
So you're hoping for another exit?
This time it's not that. It might be an exit. I mean, we're quite open for an exit as well, because some of these companies, we understand, they're just great technology, which was created to generate profit, to be a money machine, at the same time solve some people's actual real problems. But some of them, like this platform, I doubt that they're going to exit it for humanism, for investment in people. I doubt that they're going to exit from it, because it's more of a, it's either not going to succeed or going to be next Nasdaq.
Question, and the platform that you're building, this humanism, is it live now, or what's going on there?
Yet.
Okay.
I mean,
it's a platform.
But it's going to be
right now
something that's going to enable tokenization later on.
Yes, later on. We're just waiting for a proper moment. Last 2 years was not proper moment at all. All of the market was in down, especially Silicon Valley, especially private market, and crypto as well. Everything was in a winter slowdown. It was the worst time to start, and we knew we just need to wait and just wait for the proper moment to start the platform. while it was the greatest time to invest. Even though no investors were willing to give money, it was the perfect time to give money to the founders because you give them long term.
And valuation is lower.
I would say that what we want to achieve through the next 5 years, that every next year we'll have 2 times more investment made than in the previous year. So we have this
$10 million
this observation in the concept that actually
because you need to grow as a company, right? Something we started with.
So that
we just need to grow twice a year.
Yeah.
If every year we will increase number of money invested in this, just take a calculator and look at what it's going to be in 10 years and then look at what it's going to be in 20, and you will understand that with this trajectory, all money in the world eventually going to be invested in people's future.
Yes, so that's what's really important. Is that what we're also trying to transfer to any founders we interact with? That actually there is this tiny corridor of opportunities. That if you grow 60% year over year, you are a success.
You're a success.
If you're growing 2.4 times
you are
a year,
superhuman.
You're superhuman. So there is no
more than 2.4.
Less, it's not interesting. More, it's impossible. You maybe can grow faster just 1 year.
But it's not sustainable.
If the next one going to be less than this. On average, it is going to be, if on average it is 2.4 through the next 10 years, you're a superhuman. You're creating companies like Facebook, Microsoft,
if you look at Facebook, there was this initial growth, but then two times a year. If you look at Tesla, it just consistently 2 times a year. Great companies created through this growth trajectory, not through some overnight successes. And that's what we believe in, and we understand that if we can grow like 2.4 times a year, that means
invest at 10, next time invest at 20, next time is 40.
The hard thing is that you can't show the exit. Like probably there are no exits for
But in our case, the good part that we already exited one company. That's why we feel ourselves comfortable, and so that we have time to get to this significant change in the world. So it is also this model. We see in the future, it will play a quite significant role because currently founders are in this constant stress that they, on paper, they're like super rich, but they cannot afford anything.
Same with
creators. Afford to buy a house, to get mortgage and all the stuff. Well, it's crazy. Like statistically, those people, they look at the most valuable companies in the world. They all created by this founder. It's just like trillions of dollars of value.
Have to pay yourself a salary. Otherwise,
but those people, they cannot afford a normal life, and that actually is negative. A lot of investors claiming to us
you have to struggle.
The struggle is needed. But no, we see that it's because of the struggle. Actually, some of the founders was like, okay, no, I would better sell. Just because it's already you're building it for 6 years, and you cannot afford anything which your friends from being directors at Google can afford just easily. And we do believe that it's just a really wrong environment, and we've seen that most of the billion-dollar creators, they actually are from upper middle class families.
It is so much easier to work hard in a really, really, really nice apartment on really, really nice office than in a hole.
And also if you have a family.
Yes, for example,
it's a lot easier to have a daycare.
All these dropouts. Look at them. Most of them, they didn't have the student debt. Without student debt,
they
came from parents paid for the college.
Parents paid for the college. They were saving this money for you for their entire life, so that you don't have to have this burden on your shoulders. And when you drop out from Stanford and then create, the Snapchat, you could have afford yourself this dropping out.
I love this concept.
Few people can actually afford it because they're like, I have a $200,000 loan on my shoulders. If I drop out, like, what the hell am I gonna do?
Yeah. I love that. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for inviting.
I hope that the future that you just described is going to be a reality. Because for me, it was also like when we talked about the deal at first, I was skeptical. Now I understand how much
I
freedom
remember.
it gave me.
She said no twice or 3 times.
I was like, I have cash. Like, why?
Like, why would I do that? Like, I have like $1 million in cash on my account. Like,
And-
right, but do you use it?
And remember that our main argument was this freedom. that
Yeah, exactly.
With your like
freedom to try
With your
things.
own
Yeah.
savings, which
Yeah.
you were collecting
It's
for
hard to-
years,
Yeah.
to have
use
the
them.
stability
Well,
and the
it's
safety
actually
net.
the same with investment. I just invest stock market, startups, so like I'm spending the cash.
But still, like
Yeah. But
it
gives
is a
me that
freedom
peace of
to
mind.
try.
Definitely gives me
And
the peace of mind to try to experiment with things.
Plus,
Absolutely.
whenever you have an opportunity, you're like,
Oh
I know
yeah,
what to do with this
when
opportunity.
the opportunity is there. Yeah, totally. Thank you guys. You're amazing. I love you.